Hello and welcome to this episode of In the Trenches. I'm stoked for our guest today. He's a longtime friend, DP, and colorist of many of my jobs. Since he is now established and is forming a VFX collective here in Nashville. That all said, if you're enjoying the content, please, I want to remind you all, like, share, and subscribe. So let's jump into it with Dawson Waters. Dawson Waters, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Dude, thanks for having me.
This is an episode I have been wanting to do for a long time, and you actually turned me down. I don't know if your schedule Yeah, your schedule was fucked up.
Oh.
But
well,
I have been waiting.
I didn't mean to, dude.
I have been waiting. The audience needs to know that you and I have spent quality time in the trenches, literally the trenches. So, you know, our relationship started because of, I got to know you because you were roommates with Dalton.
Yeah, dude, and Troy.
And T-Roy. And I started working heavily with Dalton, right, on a lot of jobs and so forth. And
you guys did Lee Bryce, I think, was the first one, right?
Was it?
I just remember he was like, he's like, dude, Spidey yelled at me because I was holding the gold wrong. And I was like, damn, dude, this guy sounds like a dick.
Well, okay. Yeah,
but that's when I first heard of you.
Yeah.
It was like Spidey, this guy in town. And Dalton was like, dude, he's good. Like, he's got a bunch of stuff. Mm-hmm. And I've watched all of it. He's killer. I was like, dude, go for it. And that was the first time that any of us had kind of like...
Yeah, because that's when I started coming over to the crib. Mm-hmm. Right? And you guys were babies in the town, you know? Everybody was trying to kind of carve you. You were making your early goings of DPing, right?
Barely at that point. Yeah. I was like shooting with Slater. It was really like I kind of played like we did everything.
Yeah,
everybody did everything.
Yes.
So.
But the house was always, your place always had like gear laid around or homemade contraptions and like very
we would set up cranes in our living room.
I mean, 1 minute there's that, then there's like some still frame, tin cans for products being shot, and you guys are making some animation thing out in the porta driveway area, It was
like painted sets and stuff. The neighbors are like, what do these dudes do? And why are they always home?
But you actually started with me, coloring.
Oh, yeah.
We started to color because we started to hang out, while Dalton was editing. I would a lot of times go hang out with you upstairs. Were you upstairs?
Yeah, I've always been upstairs.
Yeah, we would always hang out, right? And I got to know you really well. And at first you still are extremely stubborn, but I loved it because you held your own with me, and you were never afraid to give opinion, most of the time constructive.
Yeah.
But I love that, and we were able to build, in my opinion, I'm speaking for myself, but we were able to build a fun relationship before we started to work, I think.
Yeah.
As DP director.
Sure.
Because, you're coloring a lot of
we spent
footage.
Hours together.
Yes.
Just doing nothing but looking at footage. So it was like, you got to kind of like the person that you're hanging out with, or at least that much time in the color. Like, I didn't know anything about color at that time either. And all I'd heard was like, don't work with him. It's going to be tough. And so I was like, oh man, like watching it from out here, I'm good. I don't want to, I got my own things going, and
but what made you work with me then?
Then you started hanging out at the house more, and it was like, dude, this guy's funny, and I get, like, I haven't seen him on set. I haven't seen him on set, but I just remember having such a good time. Like, whenever you were over, it was just like, we would just go off on rants. Yeah. I don't know, it was fun. It was
real, too.
Yeah.
It felt good that you didn't have to be on.
Yeah. I also wasn't looking for anything, which is like kind of one of the things I feel is like the most valuable in creative relationships is like when you can meet people and they might be uber talented at something that you could use or maybe you want, but like having that kind of like oh, we're just like, I don't need anything from you. You don't need anything from me, but we hang out, we vibe. Like, that's a hard thing to do in a town like this for sure. So anytime I kind of like encounter a relationship like that, it's like goes to a special box.
Yeah. I mean, we did very unique projects, I think, because of that relationship. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Meaning we knew we had this thing. I mean, again, it was with Troy, and we knew we could, well, do things similarly like we did with Zach Brown, where we travel down to Florida not knowing what we're shooting.
That one was crazy.
You know, we're getting it, but more, we'll get to the stories later, but really I want to tee it up. I value and always have in our relationship your strong opinion to creative, where you don't hide behind it. I really do enjoy your integrity that you bring to the table.
Thanks, man.
And as a DP, we worked on a lot of jobs. You shot a lot of jobs for me in a short span of time.
Right.
Right? Didn't you? I mean, and we traveled all over the damn place.
Yeah.
But I felt what was unique and what I wanted to have on this conversation. We'll get into fun stories, but I want the guests to know that you colored my videos, which is by far one of my more important things that I love to do in the process of filmmaking. I value that. 2, you DP'd dozens and dozens and dozens of my videos in a short span of time, which is a line item that is not easy to break into with me. I'm very picky with my DPs.
Yeah, and honestly, like, you recapping that in that context, I'm like, I was severely underqualified to do all of those things. I still am, dude. I'm not a colorist.
No, I know.
I still ask Bryant Burrell, shout out Bryant. I have no clue how to get things from linear Rec 709 back to log, to, I don't know any of that. I rely heavily on people much smarter than me. So for me to like be sitting down at a computer with you for hours and like twisting dials, I'm like, I don't know what this does. You know? And you'd be like, how do we do this? And I'd be like, sure, I can try it. You know, watch a quick YouTube tutorial or whatever. And like, that was kind of the way it went. And same thing with DPing. And I don't know, like, dude, you've worked with so many heavy hitter DPs. And like, I didn't even want to be a DP.
I had so many people going, yo, so who's Dawson, man? Like, you guys must really.
It was just our, like, we did it in a way I feel that like really brought the project, elevated the project, but it wasn't like I don't know much about the DP world. I know when things look good, but if you ask me to light like downtown Tokyo, I'd probably take a lot of time to do that, and it would be wrong the first few times. But the way that we were shooting was like all that knowledge kind of falls away when it's just like you and the director and whatever's happening in front of the lens that's probably organic and it's only happening once. And it's like, sick, I can do that. Like, I know how to kind of like move the camera in a way that captures people. And you were liking what you were seeing. And it felt like we were telling a story that just didn't require as much knowledge.
That's a very good point, because I remember saying to you or Troy, someone, my wife, is like, and I still may be there, to be honest with you, what I'm about to say. I didn't want my work, or I didn't want it to feel overdone. So, and I remember telling you this, is like, I don't want what every other DP is doing. And maybe that's why I gravitated towards pulling the trigger to do so many jobs. I knew you were building this skill set, and I knew you had the talents, but it was almost let's do this together. Let's break you, meaning let's burst the bubble of what you think you can do by giving you this opportunities that you're like, oh my God. And I know from talking to Scott Cunningham with Dave Myers in the early part of their relationship, my God, they do huge jobs. And I remember he was telling me on Humble with Kendrick Lamar, he was like, man, I had so much anxiety because every job we're using new gear, you know, like that. But now look at him. He's just like, he can pull from all of these areas.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was our
dude.
Backstory.
A lot of history with you, man. Yeah, it's fun. Like
you have
looking
a
back
favorite
at
that we
Nashville, like you have been in this for a minute.
Yeah.
But looking back for me, it's like, oh, dang, I've come a long way. Like, look at all the stuff that we've done, like all the people and like you can never make those memories. You know what I mean? Like some of those Florida ones and like I have so many with you that are like, oh, we just kind of showed up and Troy would track down like the most local, like we're not talking like Quick Stop employee. We're talking like Quick Stop employee's daughter who's paying for that house, you know, and like we just knock on that door and Troy would be like, yeah, she's cool, you know, and that's the moment. And like, yeah, we find all kinds of just like places that you wouldn't ever be. Oh my God.
Remember we stayed in that cabin? Film. That cabin in the woods.
Oh, in Florida?
In Florida. And remember the Everglades with a hunting cabin with alligators. Dude. You feel like you were taking a leak outside. They left us for nothing. Yeah. Remember, Troy? We were left.
They're like, just see ya.
See you later. Pitch black. Moss falling from the trees. You feel like you're peeing out in the dark, like alligator eyes are staring at you.
Oh, dude.
But do you know what I remember the most from that cabin? The shower that following morning. Like eating pennies.
I took the first shower and you guys got like 4 drops and Troy had to walk outside in the dark with no flashlight and try to find another power source for the water heater. That was so good.
But they also
told us there was that bordering property that if you jumped over the fence, they would hang you.
Yeah. Shoot your hand. Yes, dude.
We had no clue what was going on. Troy was managing all of it. Did a great job.
We really, this was, we're going to tell fun stories, I'm sure. But this was in a town called Moorhaven. And it was in kind of lower central Florida. And we have become such friends with the people in this town because we stayed there. We shot numerous of jobs. We used Moorhaven kind of as a backlot to some of our work. All that to be said, do you have a favorite job we did?
I have the most memorable one.
Okay.
Was me getting bowled down with Matt Danielson. You remember
The
that?
bull?
Yeah.
Back to Florida.
That was crazy. That was a fun one.
I forgot about that.
Because that night got intense on everybody's end. It was like 11th hour. They like $600,000 bowls or something. They pulled these things up because they were just like so stoked that we were there.
So we need to tee this up. It was for Jake Owen, Up There, Down Here music video. We shot his performance in Wyoming, by the way. That has to be one of your highlights.
Was awesome. Yeah, that was awesome.
Fishing with Jake in the water.
Yeah,
and all
that was cool. I forgot about that. That was cool.
That was rad. But we went back to Moorhaven to shoot the narrative parts of the Up There, Down Here video. And we had DP, you and Matt, our trusted AC, who we've brought on many a rad.
Matt Nelson gets abused.
Yes, he's one of our boys. But we had to get closer and get in it.
Yeah, we had 4 bulls total. Troy might know. I think it was 4, maybe 3. But the first 2 ran, and we really didn't get the shot. And I was trying to sit on the outside of the fence, and so I had Matt Danielson, which Matt is an absolute legend, dude.
No question. We have put yes.
He is my if someone's like AC,
you're going to battle.
Matt Danielson. I don't care where we have to get him from, but like. I love that dude. And he I got in the ring because we had 1 more bowl left. And these were like their prized bowls, I guess. I don't know much about it, but they couldn't run more than once. So there was 1 more bowl and you were losing it over there saying like, we haven't got the shot. And they were like, she's taught. No, she was back there he was back there throwing fences. Yeah. He was so angry.
Dude, he's got his balls yanked.
Yeah. And Spidey is over there, his own bull, kicking stuff, and he's like, "Get that last bull out here!" And I'm like,
"That's right." The owner didn't like that.
I have to get this shot now because like we just pissed off the town.
Yeah.
So I got in the ring, and Matt was like, "You're going in there?" I was like, "I don't know what else to do, man." And he was like, "Well, I'm going in with you." So we went, and the guys in there's like a 15-year-old kid wearing a clown costume, and he was like, I was like, "Hey, am I good if I stand over here?" And he's like, "Probably."
Can I put this $400,000 camera?
And they like, if that bull start running over there, I'll just start hooting and hollering. All right. I was like, "Good." And then I just hear clank, and that Matt and I were like, oh, we're going. And I'm pushing the camera in towards this bull, trying to get, some sort of hero shot. By the
it sees you and doesn't.
And this bull just sees all the stuff I have on, and he's like, that guy.
Big, giant, easy rig, and the thing is
and I'm in the sand, so I'm trying to run, and I'm pushing Matt into the corner where they had the gate open, so it's not a real structurally sound spot, but I wedged us in there, and Matt falls down, and I'm on his chest, and this bull behind us is just straight into the thing, just trying to get at it.
You hear me going, get the shot! You're like,
and all that was recorded on the Alexa too. So the Alexa had the end of that bit, just sheer panic, and you can just see Matt's hand with just the focus
still going red, focus pulling. Like,
dude, that by far had to be that one's burned into my memory.
Yeah, you were done. That was game over.
After that, I was like, I'm good, done. Man. We that's it. Let's just. I don't remember if we called it or took a break, but
we called it.
That would have been bad for everybody.
How about now that I put you to the test pretty heavily on Yellow Wolf then in Vegas. Because that was a shit ton of lighting.
It was also a shit show. The way that it was organized and everything was so many company moves. To get everything out of the truck was just out of the question.
You're shooting in one day. You may be mixing 2 other videos in that day because it made sense to shoot those in those locations.
Yeah, directorially, it was so difficult to swap.
It was like a feature where you really had to have your script writing. I mean, your line producing. Yeah. You didn't know where everything was in continuity. So we did how many videos? 4 or 3?
Felt like 5.
Yeah, I think 4 videos, 3 videos. Maybe. I don't know anymore.
I don't know, but it was like
7 days of
right?
shooting.
Yeah.
7 days of shooting. I will say my little aha moment on that was I did enjoy watching you manhandle the Russian arm on Vegas Boulevard.
Oh, dude, that was fun.
Vegas Boulevard, that was pretty fun to see you whipping that out.
Yeah, dude, all my recently acquired Warzone skills, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you nervous on that?
Oh, yeah. Because as long as the guys were fine, I was fine. But then there were times where I just felt like I still feel this way almost about everything, but I'm just like a kid who managed to get by unnoticed, oh, they let me in here. It always feels like that. So when money's on the line or production tools, and that
you're here to do a specific gig, and you got to do it now.
This up. Yeah, and there's so much going on, so it's also one of the busiest weeks of your life.
Yeah,
and the by far timeline, keeping everything in check is you're never gonna get a grasp on it. So you're just kind of rolling with the punches. Okay, what are we doing now? All right, and then all that pre-pro you did, almost some of it sticks, but a lot of it just falls away. Where it's okay, I know the story, and I know what we're trying to say here, and that's probably all I need, and I'll just use this Russian arm as a tool. So when I could be in that mindset, it felt good, but it was hard to get there.
You remember the Make Me a Believer clip that I got the notes then around 2:30 in the afternoon the day before having to be on set for Make Me a Believer, Yellow Wolf in the dry lake bed.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the note that it was going
right. Or
no, that was
a different one.
That's Devil in My Veins.
No, yeah.
No, I'm talking about Make Me a Believer with Shooter and when they're performing, and then the rain.
Yeah. Gotcha.
We got a word around 3:00 or so that it was going to be rain. A couple cells are going to form over us, and the winds were going to be too heavy to do what we were going to do, which was we had scaff with bulldozers holding this thing. The bulldozers were going to be in the shots, and the lights off the thing. The band was going to be it was going to be a thing. And they're like, well, we can't do it. I'm like, that's everything. What do you mean? I'm shooting a fucking desert now.
Yeah.
What, And I remember just okay, because we had all that black doob that was gonna hang, whatever. Mm-hmm. And so I remember seeing Batman Returns or whatever. Remember that? And I saw when he's walking to the Tibetan thing. Yeah. I'm like, rip all these things and put them in the ground and all that stuff. I thought we had escaped everything until we got the news that we had to wrap what, like, how early? We only shot for how many hours did we shoot that video?
Not many, like 4 or 5.
Yeah, 3 hours. I mean, we didn't shoot much.
I remember I got yelled at because I told the FPV Ian. Ian's also a legend. Very by much. The way. That kid is insane.
Shout out, hit big time.
Yeah, but
opening shot, by the way.
I got yelled at because we put the drone up too early. I was like, no, this shoot can't run like this. Because I was like, it was used to be just me and you, kind of like, all right, we got to do what we got to do. We'll just pick up. But like with all this stuff, it was,
Let's talk about that, because I want to. What did you say when we scripted that video?
Probably
you were like,
yo,
let me holler at my boys in Utah, have them come down. We'll go lower pro with it, right? And we'll be able to get such crazy stuff, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And because the production got so big, and so, for lack of a better word, I would say so organized.
Yeah.
ADs and all these chefs in the kitchen kind of thing, so to speak. People to draw their opinions. To do it over again, I regret I should have listened to you. I should have taken, but it was just hard.
It's hard to know.
Yes, when you have everybody with Yellow Wolf included with such high expectations, and you definitely needed it on the surrounding jobs, other surrounding videos that we had all those 6 or 7 days.
Right.
It was just like weird to like, I don't know, unorganize that for the sake of getting that whimsical dopeness.
Well, that's the constant I wish we battle that we had, right? Like you and I were always trying, we're sneaked up in 10 minutes. And it's like, yeah, well, not me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the guy with the camera. You're not rapping me, bro.
Exactly.
And so it's kind of like, I feel like it's always lunch, that way.
All right, guys, go have fun. But then you can't leave everything on.
Yeah, exactly.
If we leave everything on, then G&E has to be there. You're like, what if I just don't turn it on?
I get it, but that's like,
but I think that's what I loved about you, is that when you signed on, it was go time. It was full send.
It's very guerrilla.
Yeah.
Like I like it that way more, and I only like it that way because it's up until now has been pretty successful for me. I think there is a level though where like you get to like that 4 shoots in it 7 days is like, how are we gonna, like we needed good acting, those people and I didn't just that.
I mean, you saw me on set. I was really working the actors and working the storylines. I was impressed with you because I could not be holding your hand.
Yeah.
Nah. All the jobs we did, was that our last?
We shot some like one-off stuff here in Nashville.
Okay. But like that was me going, I can't get in the weeds with Dawson too much about specific lights and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I can't.
There's
not too much else.
Time.
Yeah, no. Was there anything on those Yellow Wolf jobs that you were particularly impressed with your performance or lighting or just the way something worked out that you had envisioned? Or because we had plotted those videos together.
Yeah.
We had to.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we had to. Yeah. I had to know what we can do out there. You had to know it was a thing. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Make Me a Believer ended up being a different kind of video than what we both had expected due to weather and all that stuff. And
it was still sick.
Yeah, it's cool. But was there anything from a craftsman standpoint that you're like, I'm stoked. I love that, or I love how the story all came out, or that specific video?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to tell.
People like to nerd out on stories.
Right. It's hard to tell if it's because of the Russian arm, but during Make Me a Believer was outside.
Yep.
Right.
Make Me a Believer was the field.
Okay. The lake bed.
Yep. And that's the radio. What I'm talking about. Radio.
Okay. Yeah. Whichever one we had the Russian arm out on, that shot of
we had it on both.
When he's like circle, you know what I'm talking about? When we're just doing like a real tight peel, just a full circle around him. And that moment where it's like zooming in on those like crappy, like World War II zoom lenses that were like, I chucked him in the truck. They were like, "You want these?" I was like, "Yeah, I want them." And then you were like, "All right, they're only like $200 or something." And I talked you into it. It was a ridiculous lens. It was like 80 to 400 or something. Like you didn't need any of that.
That was Make Me a Believer, actually.
And it was sick. And that little moment of that, like the sky just ripping it past him was like, it's always been something that I've wanted to recreate or like create for myself. but I've never been able to like run that fast. You know what I mean? Like it was so sick just because of the speed of it. And it was just like, that's the shot. That's what I love. I love that.
There's something about when we worked, there was a DP, and he's a wonderful DP, but his name is Dustin Lane.
Mm-hmm.
And we were working together for a while before he moved to LA and started doing like 8-day Puma jobs in South Africa and stuff, you know. But he was able to operate the camera in such a unique way that in the edit, if you use these shots, they evoked something musically or emotive in the operation.
Yeah.
I say all that because you are the only person other than Dustin that I have worked with that has given me that nugget, that feeling, that, you know.
Yeah.
And I really, and I do owe that to you, or whatever, your operation.
Didn't you? 100%. It's funny you bring that up. I haven't thought about that in a long time.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just remembering it too.
I learned, bro, there was something about, I don't remember what video it was. It was probably like some surf film that I was watching in Australia. But I went to Hillsong College in Sydney, and I was kind of not recommend. Wouldn't recommend it. It didn't teach me a whole lot about film, but I wanted to shoot more like music video type stuff. So I bought one of those. I read somewhere on like a Reddit page that to get that film look, like that look that I liked, it was like the body of the camera has to be heavy. And so I bought one of those little like steady, you know, the little handheld. What are those called, Troy? They're like, there was like a little Chinese company that made them. Yeah, that glide cam, and it had a big weight on the bottom. So I attached it to my camera, and then I would just hold the camera and run with it, and it would give me that like heavy sway, like, you know, when you're holding a DSLR and everything.
Yeah, it gives that little.
Hate that.
Yeah, me too.
But I got that with the Canon 7D and this big weight on the bottom. So that was all I had. Like I didn't have lights or anything. So my camera movement, I felt like, oh, I can. Like that's why I loved music and like going out on the road. When I finally got to Tennessee, it was like, dude, I can make someone feel this song the way it's meant to be felt, you know? And so I don't think I have any gifts in lighting or like, you know, I don't dream in colors. Like it's just, I learned that to kind of like aid to the jobs that I was taking, and probably because of camera work.
Yeah. I mean, but you also, just now to throw it back, is this making sense here? I want the viewers to know everything I know. Your background comes from a kind of a adrenaline-seeking, adventure, thrill-seeking background, right? I mean, you're telling me stories of breaking into like gnarly warehouses and climbing radio towers and shit, like, and hanging 1 foot off a roof and getting that document. So I say all that because you do have something in you that pushes. I love it because it's not safe.
Yeah.
You have to actually, don't you agree, Toy? You have to kind of back off. You have to kind of leash Dawson to get him to give you the normal, right? I mean, because I would be like, hey, stay back. I'm like, good, leash. Hold back. He's like, let me get this. Let me get this crazy shot, because that's in you, you know.
Yeah.
If anything, it's to hold you back to get some standard.
Yeah.
Stock,
Definitely.
I call it, you know. And that stems from your background, and I think
I just like to feel.
Okay.
Excuse me. That was funny.
I made him cough up. I would have been rad if his shit came out of his nose.
I really like to feel, and not in like a let me stick myself in my room and like cry kind of way, but like a I like to put myself in uncomfortable situations that have some sort of like I guess like a enchantment to it. And you surf, you know this, but surfing was that for me for a long time.
Yeah.
Because after I stopped doing illegal stuff, it switched to something that could be like
illegal and life-threatening.
Yeah. And when I discovered surfing, it was like that. It was like the unknown of the ocean. Like, and I started way too big for my skill level. And I was out there with people who actually knew what they were doing, and they were like, "Yeah, you'll be fine, mate." And I would just jump off the rocks, and then I was in. Like, you know, that taught me real quick. Like, oh, you can find adrenaline here, and like you can feel like when you're next to an edge of something, whether that's like an emotional breakthrough or if it's literally the edge of a building, like it's a feeling of like, oh, yeah, like I've done it. Even the end of a project.
A tingle. I mean, it's
yeah. Submitting a project sometimes feels like that, where it's like, that's good. You know, like before it goes out, you're like, I don't even care if they come back with a bunch of notes.
Or it could be death.
This is good. Yeah.
Right?
Or they just like, stomp on it. Yeah.
I'm crushed.
So I think that's like,
and
we both have that.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like it comes with a lot of side effects. Like you overthink everything and I don't know. People have names for all of it, like ADHD, whatever. Who knows? Everything. But like everyone deals with it. If you care about something, like of course you get nervous when you're around it. So I think that's where it comes from. It's like I want to feel.
Yeah.
When I shoot, when I do everything, like we always feel something, whether it's laughter or like frustration, or you and me getting terrified in the back of we're going over like things that look like land on a boat. And the airboat, and he's just ripping through them. I was like, "Oh my god! If I get hit by something, and you and I are just kind of like, here we go." But those are so fun, man. That's why I have like all the best memories of like being in Nashville. A lot of them are from your sets, and just like being on that journey.
Yeah, we definitely made our jobs, and I still try to make every job an experience.
Yeah,
you know, the area that I'm most impressed and want to also talk about, we can get into more stories as well, but you and I were on a run, working a lot, and now people were like, "Yo, who's that guy? You know, who's that?" I'm gonna brag about you and so forth. And then COVID hit, right? The pandemic hit, and you started again, just like probably surfing, like you just said, and DPing. You threw yourself into something, I wouldn't say it's polar opposite, because I'm going to go into it's visual, but into 3D Blender creation, right? That was during the pandemic. And you locked yourself up in that room. We never saw you. Never see you. To the point, guys, he has daylight grow lights, and this
I'm trying to build a like inside garden in there, and it's just not happening.
But I remember having a conversation with you FaceTime, because we had done so many jobs, and the new year was starting, and all these things. And this is important to talk about, because I think it's so telling about who you are. I was like, "So are you interested in keep DPing for me?" And you're like, "Man, I just don't notice where my headspace is." You know, in other words, he goes, "Of course, I've got you if you need it, you know, but I'm really going in on this all in on Blender and 3D. I don't know what, I'm locked into it." And well, now look at you. You know, and I think it's
a loser.
A loser.
I should have never left.
No, you are. I hear your name popping up all over, and it's not. It's cool because it doesn't have really anything to do with me, you know. And I'm just hearing about it as a friend and a fan of yours. It's really cool because you did it almost as a necessity. You didn't almost know why you were doing it, because it required so much of your time alone, away from everyone. Even when the pandemic was over, you know, it meant you didn't just go done. All right, go back to. It was like, okay, I'm going to live in this space.
Yeah.
What motivated the realization that this wasn't DPing wasn't necessarily what I want to pursue outwardly? Yeah, you have that skill for yourself, for your 3D, all that stuff matters.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it was a throwaway, but the career trajectory definitely did a turn.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, fuck, sorry.
You forgot cameras on. We're just we're upstairs in the room now.
Yeah, I think at the beginning of COVID, everything was like, sweet, get some time off, you know?
Exactly.
And then I got to a point like everyone did where it was like, I don't know, like, I'm not doing anything, you know? Like, me and my friends are just playing video games or whatever. Like, we're trying to save the world, I guess. Yeah. And then it got to, like, some of that just kind of, like, wore off. And I was like, okay, like, I have to do something. Whether it's, like, Dalton was talking about learning stop motion. Like, claymation and stuff. Like, that's how we were just like, we need to make something, you know?
But were you trying to make something? Were you also trying to say, COVID's changing the world now, and I got to learn something?
I got captivated with the idea that I could make a location.
Okay.
Because in my head, it was like, all these places in Nashville are shot. You know, if I could just like get ahead of the curve and figure out how to put someone in a location or like make my own. Because there's so much that I can do, like, for me, with storytelling and my own like artistic endeavors, just personal. I feel like I don't need a person in a lot of those concepts that live in my notes pages. You know, like I could make it with mountains or like just camera movements and scenery. And like, so I felt like it would be a valuable skill to have, but I wasn't really thinking like time to bail yet. And then I started doing more with it, and I started to realize as things slowly came back, because it was a lot longer than just 2020. Like,
yeah, I know
things started to like slide back into gear. It was like, I am not a great DP. Like, there's no, like, yeah, I could pick up where I left off, but like,
I think you could have.
There's going to be, you know, the first rush of jobs are going to be the good DP. Like, that's who's taking them. And I'm just not obsessed with it. Like, I don't care that much. And it's not that I didn't put care into my work. It's like, when I go home, I'm not reading how to be a DP for dummies. You know, like, I'm just thinking about, I'm looking at the shots and I'm like, next time I'll do this. Or I really want to achieve this look. Like, that's the extent of like, I don't know anything about frame sizes and different lenses.
Yeah, you just didn't nerd out on the subject.
No, but Blender, for some reason, because maybe it was like my own thing, like there was a little ego in it where I was like, I'm doing this and like, it's gonna be sick. Like, I'll show them. Kind of, also like, I don't know anyone that's doing it.
Nobody was doing it.
Yeah, so I was like, well, I'll do that. So it probably started with a little ego, but I think, dude, at the end of it, I just realized like, I was working so hard to like fit. I was working on like Dark Waters, my company, like trying to get them into a different like angle.
Yeah,
and, like,
more of an adventure,
market.
right?
Yeah,
more,
exactly. And I really want to work with Calvin, and like I just love that lifestyle of like having fun and making everything about fun. And then I also love like I love helping people succeed as well. So I kind of fought like, I'm just going to do this Dark Water thing, drain through like all my savings just to try to pull it off. And it really didn't like get anywhere. And that was all through, like, I was like, we have a small window to come back strong from post COVID, you know? And then 3D just kind of taught me like, because I wasn't taking jobs for it. It was like my baby. Like, no, I'm not. I'm just posting stuff. Like, I'm not working. And then it became like a lesson in like, just let it flow. Like, if you're good at something and you'd like it, you might have ideas for more stuff now. But like, if you just put those in the back of your mind and let things kind of progress, take that coffee because he asked you to do it. And yeah, it's not the lane of like business you want to get into, but like, just take it and see what happens. Or maybe you should do that thing for like half your cost because you thought it would be fun, but you need the money, but like, maybe just cut your costs a little bit. And like, those things were like, okay, yeah, I can do that. And honestly, taught me now more about just like you and I have had so many conversations about this because we were grinding together. Like, you were trying to figure out what you wanted to do next, and like, you were burnt out. So we both kind of worked in this place, I think, of like, whatever happens, happens. And like, all of it can be used. Like, that DP stuff that I learned factors directly into what I do now. And all the directing that I watch you do helps me instruct my team. And like the VFX supervision thing is a new thing for me, but that's kind of where I'm trying to stay. And like, I'll just be, I just want to make sure that everybody is taken care of. And I don't need to be in the ones and zeros quite as much. A, because I trust the people I work with, and B, because I can probably be a bigger benefactor pulled from the project and just looking at it as a creative.
So explain what you're doing. I mean, you're not just facilitating a job. I mean, you are, but you have a team behind you, just like I do in directing. I mean, you have, it's not just you, right? It can be.
Right.
But your time has to be spread out if you have multiple jobs. Because like, let's just go back 5 minutes to when you were during the pandemic. Just all this, all the sacrifice, how many hours? Countless. We didn't see you.
Who knows?
They didn't see you. You're. I mean, like he's on the 3rd floor of this house, and you have to take two staircases to get to you. And once you get up to Rapunzel's little spot up there.
Yeah.
You've earned it. Like, don't forget your keys up in Dawson's office there, dude. But you were constantly up there. You were really putting in the hours. You were putting in the hours.
It's slowed down a little now, I think.
Of course.
Because I got to that threshold of like, all right, I can make some shit. I can make things dangerous. Like, I'm good. I'm not the best, but do I need to be? Like, now I'm like, do I need to be the best? Or do I have things that I'd like to build, such as like directing or just creative oversight on a project that I know, like I'm wrangling everybody's creative ideas. I'm packing them down, and then I'm helping people like achieve those the best that I can. And I feel like that's a role that I am working to get better at, because it feels like it would be not as draining.
Is directing still on the plate?
I don't think directing in the context, like I don't have big dreams to be like, oh, I'm going to make a movie.
But if a client had a job that needed facilitation from a production standpoint, and you knew how to oversee it from a VFX angle, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, and I think like for me, like that's what Dark Water's for. Is
that would be like
my directing kick out there. Like I don't need to be like, I don't enjoy having to do the work to be a director. That's the part that I don't enjoy.
Like what?
Like all the emails and back and forth, and then it's like you're on the hook for all the money. It's like it's just, you know what I mean? It's like, shit. And I'm
done. You sold me
for a while. Like I did that for a little with the guys, smaller scale, but it was, it's kind of like a full-time job. It's like a lot. I can't, if I'm doing all that, I don't have enough time to go pursue like other endeavor. I don't have time to say yes as much.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think like I do want to have the ability to say yes most times.
Sure.
And
are you enjoying the because again, you had as a DP, you had the collaboration with director,
Yeah.
So now let's just use Kane Brown. I mean, you just did his whole touring
3D graphics
for his stage show. And that's with Patrick Tracy. No?
Kane's with Alex Alvga.
Oh, Alex.
Big shout out to Alex.
Right.
He's
Alex,
an absolute legend.
That's right.
Yeah.
I want to get out.
He is so busy, dude.
Yeah.
He would love to come on here, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, he said so. I want to get him back.
That is one of the hardest working dudes I've ever been around. Yeah. Good dude.
So what's that relationship been like, as far as how does it work?
That was an interesting one, because Alex like grabbed me out of like, he DM'd me, was like something like, dude, love your stuff, you around? And I was like, yeah. I love Alex's work, because I've always talked about him being kind of like, dude, his stuff's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like regardless of who it's for, it's like it's creating a brand around something that like doesn't really exist in Nashville. No. So I was like,
very unique, very unique style.
Yeah. So I met him some coffee shop, and he was just like, okay, so here he like flips out all these things, and it's like a full like set list of all, like I've only done like 1 or 2 songs here and there with Patrick.
Yeah.
And so it hasn't ever been like, oh, you're going to be on site and you're like, it just has to get done. It's a large chunk of money at one time, but like it's going to take you 6 months or whatever. So I was like, all right, dude, I'm in. But I should warn you, like, I am not qualified. Like, I just started this like 2 years ago. So I just want to let you know. And he was like, you got it.
Yeah. You got
all right.
It. He sees it.
I started, this was a little bit prior, but me and my buddy Bryant thought we should get some community going around the VFX scene in Nashville. Yeah. So we started a little thing. It's like not really anything yet, but we're just hanging out sometimes. And like we have a little Discord server, but it's the Nashville VFX Collective is what we're going to call ourselves. It's just like a little group of people that like want to work on stuff. So I called them and I was like, dude, if you guys want to help me on this, like, let's do this together.
And they jumped.
And they were like, yeah, dude. So we jumped on it and it was just the three of us. And we found out that budget was probably not enough.
Oh, really?
But it wasn't, and not in a bad way. Like, I just didn't know how it would go. So we roll up.
That's one of my questions. How do you manage that?
Right. So excruciating hours put into these. It's all kind of like finished. And I expected us to just roll up to this big ass LED wall and like see it all on there and be like, tweak this and this, and we're good. And it was basically a full revision of like everything we had made. It was a perspective, a lot of perspective issues, because from the front of house view, like, they had two trusses that move up and down, LED fascia on them. So you want to see things line up on the screen, but it's two separate screens.
They got to be together, right? They
yeah.
gotta be in one.
So I made a lot of, and also just the way we set the scenes up, we're kind of built to be like, you know, it's good. When it's its final, it's like, don't touch it. And you know what I mean? Like, it was built for like one export kind of, not a series of revisions that went through first looks, then management, then management again. You know what I mean?
Oh, I do.
So it just wasn't, I just wasn't expecting it. And I pulled a 48-hour no sleep deal over there. And it was
I don't doubt it.
That whole shot that I was working on too just got scrapped by management the next day. But it was definitely a learning experience. And I was severely underqualified to be in that role. But Alex was, he stayed calm, cool, and collected while I was pulling my hair out. And I don't really pull my hair out that easy. No. But I was stressed on that job.
I was stressed on a job similar, like that had, I don't do a lot of VFX in my work, especially like 3D where you're building things, you know? And I remember sleeping under a desk on a floor to get it done so it could be satellited to MTV for a review. And it was like, you know,
like 30 minutes to cut it up.
It was so bad. I mean, it was a Cypress Hill lowrider, and it was like camera going through the grill of a car, and then going through the pistons, firing through there, and coming out into a new era of a car. You know, like a tailpipe come out, and now we're in the 60s, and it so on and so on and so on. Man. You have to, anytime you're doing VFX of any kind, you have to plan for double the time.
100%.
Because you can execute. It's at what level are you trying to execute? At what level advance of detail? Because, you know, you can make it happen in the time, but then there's levels to how much detail and quality you're going to get.
Right.
Right?
100%.
I mean, because it's rendering.
Because you can spend... if you build a scene that's this big and your camera is real close and it's a macro shot of like an ant walking on a piece of grass, if all that's in 3D, there's nothing outside of it.
Yeah.
So like moving that camera an inch is like, well, now we have to build the thing. You know what I mean?
You just move the parallax.
So so the tools are getting better, but it's I think in your case, I would be very interested, and I'd watch Josh's.
I was gonna ask you, did you watch Josh?
It's great. I would love if he had another like 2-hour just VFX nerd talk podcast, but we can get into it. Him and I.
Do you like that though? Did it?
Yeah.
Did Josh? God,
Very cool.
I remember sitting across from him.
Because he comes from such a different, like, we're doing the same thing, but like he knows of tools that I don't know, and somehow I know of tools that he doesn't know. And it's like this, you can't stop learning. Like that's the cool part about this world, is it's like constantly changing. And now with like AI or whatever, I don't really have any opinions on that, so don't ask me.
I'm not. But we're talking about Josh Kirschenbaum.
He was on.
He was a couple episodes episodes back.
Legend.
Yes, absolutely. And I have.
You told me you wanted to. You're like, dude, you got to link with my boy Josh. And I was like, absolutely. So you connected us and we had like 2 phone calls. And then you're like, bro, you should ask him to mentor you. And I was like, sure. So I said, yo, dude, you want to mentor me? And he was like,
no.
What does that mean? I was like, I don't know. So nothing really happened. It was just like, dude, you want to do this? He was like, I don't know. I was like, I'm not sure either. We'll talk soon, though.
You just talk to him, and he just loves. I mean,
he's a great dude.
That was a fun episode. Now, do you have a piece of work that I asked you earlier on the DP side that is there any effect or anything you've created from scratch that you're like, yeah, I'm getting there. I'm where I'm seeing improvement, or the way I want to see. I'm growing the way I want to.
Yeah, at the risk of sounding prideful, like,
no, dude,
stuff that I put out, I feel is solid. Like, from an industry standpoint, like looking at it, I think if you got in my project file, you'd be like, screw this kid. But I love the like anonymity of just like sharing an image or like sharing a video, and you're just like, what do you think? Like not asking for people to like comment on it, but it's like, I just put it out there because it's good. But like, I know that I shortcutted a bunch. So it's like I'm kind of like cheating behind the scene. You know what I mean? Like, so for me, I do feel like there's not a single piece, but there are even like shots that I feel like.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I got that,
Describe one.
One, admittedly, the bird is a little robotic, but there's one where there's a camera like a FPV perspective, like cruising through this cornfield, and then it pans up and you see this bald eagle like flying next to it, and then eagle swings out this way and it reveals a tornado, and it's kind of dope. And it's been one of those things where like I feel like I've put my kind of like stamp on that, because I get people asking me like, dude, I love that shot, can we get one similar but like for this video? So I just kind of like, I know it's like the sauce, and anyone could do it,
sure, but
it's kind of like one of those things that just keeps the phone ringing a little bit.
What is the biggest challenge you face with any and all VFX? I have mine when I do visual effects, and I'll say it only after you say yours.
2 tie for first: time management and client expectations, I think. Just because it's so like, you're talking about a blank slate, and you're like, here's what it's gonna look like, and then they're like, well, we thought it, and there's almost there's almost no way around it. So now I'm just trying to figure out like, okay, time management, that's utmost priority, because I'm not working more than I don't want to charge them more, but I'm also not gonna like work endlessly for
I'm not
free.
Gonna pay for it.
So setting it up to be like, all right, how long is this realistically going to take? And like, that's hard. So there's that. And then also there's almost no way to like, because you show them like a basic block out, which instead of laying down grass and mountains and all that in one go, because that takes so long, you just place primitive objects in the scene, and then you send it to the client. They're like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. It's like, of course you don't, but like, I need to know kind of like, you know what I mean?
Perspective and camera movement, blocking.
So that one's so difficult. Just to like, I'm working on it, and I think I'm getting a little bit better.
Hours to get something. To where you can just present even a
and then
40%.
Like we actually hate it, and you're like, great, we just wasted. So if that's tough, and I think to negate that, I am pretty selective with my clients, and I try to find clients that I'll only work with you if I've met you before, kind of deal. Like Tanner and he's very hands off.
Tanner Gallagher?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
He's like, I just need this done. And I'm like, dude, I got you. We'll figure it out somehow.
He mentioned hollering at you. Like, he's like, dude, your boy fucking Dawson's amazing. I'm like, yeah, you know he is.
Well, he's one that's like, doesn't know, doesn't care.
Yeah.
And then Alex is one that's like, he's going to push me, but I know that he's got my best interest in mind. And then there's like a handful of other clients like Patrick that they just want something super specific, but they like, I know how they work. We vibe in person. Like it's when you do things kind of like through an agency or like through, it's like
shot in the dark.
Yeah. And like that would burn me out so fast. Like
that's
I was doing client work and never hearing a thank you from the client, or even just like feedback. Like I need to be in front of you or on the phone or on FaceTime or something just to see like, are you like, I'll look at you while I turn my phone around.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
Like, I don't want it to be like, email it, call me in the morning, like with all your notes. I want to share it with them on the phone.
You kind of need to.
Yeah.
I've heard from a really rad graphic designer, Ryan Clark. He said the same thing. That's from a graphic designer's standpoint. It's exactly what you just said. And here's the funny thing to this little topic. My one thing that's most frustrating with VFX. Now, keep in mind, I'm the director. You're telling me your notes from the creative. And guess what I'm about to say?
Get lost.
No, one of those things you just said. It was expectation, meaning I was expecting it to look more real.
Yeah.
And the realism is me. But see, to add to that, if we were doing VFX, you would know that.
Right.
You see, and that's what adding to what you just said. Every client is different.
Spidey's not going to want some Play-Doh looking
you're going to go into our project and go, okay. Did you say Play-Doh?
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. VFX is hard, and I think that was like my initial idea for the collective was like, let's make this way more fun, first of all. Mm-hmm. It's like I've spent 2 years in my room by myself. Great. I learned it. Now I'm tired. Like, I don't want to be in here anymore.
Yeah.
And I want to go hang out with people. So like, that's the primary is like, get people friends. Cause you can call those people and be like, hey, I'm stuck on a job. You want to hop in? Or like, hey, I have a question. And that's awesome. And then the second thing is like, it shouldn't be as scary as it is to be like, I'm going to do VFX on this video for a director. You should want to do VFX, and you should be, at some point, people will be very judgmental of the artist that did it. And that's why I think like working in your creative, wherever you feel most comfortable creatively is where you should probably stay across the board.
Sure.
And I think if I can get to a point where like I am hired to give this specific look, similar to how like a DP who's like well known for a look, he gets hired to do that and he crushes it every time. That usually beats a jack of all trades.
Okay.
And it makes everybody feel a little bit better. Like, I'm running my business now through my text messages. If you want to get a hold of me, text me or call me. But like, odds are I won't see your email. You might have to follow up with me a few times before I respond on Slack. Like, I just want to be friends with the people that I work with. And I think I can do that because it's not that hard to make friends. And it's really not hard to find people in town who do what you do and are a good hang. So yeah, I think that's like the goal of the collective. And I think that's where like my trajectory is headed. It's just like help people have more fun when they work.
I can see that. I mean, I think that's where everything is heading. And I shouldn't say everything. In town, I think there's a thirst for what you are bringing. And I think you are ahead of the curve, to be honest with you. And the fact that you're
feel like it,
building, well, I mean, you know, any building of a new business is never easy.
Yeah. And to be fair, like I am not the most experienced, and I come at this from kind of like a half-ass. I'm kind of a VFX artist. Like Matt DeLisi is a guy in town who has miles more experience than I do, but like he and I met up a couple weeks ago, and it was so fun just to hear his side of the fence. Like everybody thinks I'm the VFX. I'm like, I cheated. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how I got here. I got here like 2 years ago. It just doesn't feel like
in some way, though, I've heard you humbly say things, but I have to speak now because I'm on the other side of that, hiring you.
Yeah.
Right? And same with Alex.
Yeah.
Two pretty successful people that saw the best in you.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't believe you're being truthful, but there's skill. There is a need for Dawson Waters to be hired. Not okay. I got lucky today. I got a job. No,
I guess it just doesn't feel like I put in my 10,000 hours. You know what I mean? And I'm in the process of doing that. So it's like until I put it in, I'm just kind of like, dude, I'm doing my best. I'm not gonna sit like you have that kind of thing that like I have a much more like imposter syndrome. Just air to my mindset, I think. And you have that thing that's like, brother, I'm a badass. You know what I mean? And I think that's dope. And I think you should, because you've put in your 10,000 hours. And I try to implement that every once in a while, because it is, you know, it is good to have pride in what you do. And sometimes just to put your foot down and be like, nope, that's encroaching on my territory. Yeah. Like, this is my baby. I'm going to keep it here. But like, I think it's good to, for me at the moment, to have sort of like a humble. Yeah. One day I'll probably get to the point where it's like, I'm not taking that job. That's a joke. You know what I mean? But I think for now, I'm kind of like, dude, I'm in. And as long as I can work with people I like, I'm down to do the dirty work.
We'll switch gears for a quick second because of your truthfulness. What do you think of the podcast? Because you were one of 3 people that I talked to when I was going to do this. And you know me, I'm not a camera guy. I
didn't think there was any way in hell you were going to be able to figure all this out.
Yeah.
Nah, I knew you could do it. I just knew that the tech part of it was going to get a little dicey. So it was just like, you know, you got to have all the stuff. You got to have a room to put it in. And, you know, it's a big deal.
Getting it off the ground, you didn't think I was going to stick it out?
I wasn't sure if you believed it enough to, like, you know what I mean? And I think it took you a minute for it to get there, because you had the idea and it was like, yeah, that's it. And then, of course, like day 2, I don't know.
Maybe not.
Right. Exactly. And it's scary. Anytime you're next to that ledge, you know what I'm saying? Like, you found something. Mm-hmm. It's like, you're starting to feel fear. Yes. And the fear is interesting because it always comes, that's like nature's last resort of getting you to give up. Is because you get excited, you get inspired, and you're like, yeah, I want to do all this. But right before you press that button, it's like, you feel that last barrier. Of like,
what is that? Doubt? Self-sabotage?
It's just fear.
Is it mental?
It's fear of failure. It's fear of embarrassment. Like, there are so many reasons to be afraid. And I think, like, going back to what I loved about doing all that reckless stuff, it's like, bro, if you can make your brain do it, you know what I mean? And like hanging off a crane, I can do a pull up on the ground. I can do 20 of them. Why would I be so scared to do it up here? And like that kind of thing, I think gave me an awareness for fear that I didn't have before. Like, usually people get right up to fear and then they're like, oh, nope, I'm going to walk around. And you could still be pretty successful doing that. But I also think that there's something notable about people who can break through that fear time and time again. So I think you have that, and that's why the podcast is getting better and better. Like, you could tell that you were scared in the first one.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh yeah. Oh, I know.
Just
a
little
was.
uptight.
Oh, I was. I didn't. Yeah, it was different. I told you that. I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we talked about
Settle in like anything.
It's awesome, dude. I love it. I think your intention is the thing that's gonna make it bust open. Like, if you can get, you got the ones and zeros in, but like, you have to pull together the creative with intention. It can't just be this is what I do. I guess I'm gonna have another hour podcast today.
No, I just honestly, I love it's been so healing. It's a good word from me, because we've talked about mental health. I mean, you've come up to the house. We sit outside for hours.
Dude, we've had some dark times.
Yeah, eating spaghetti with the kids. I mean, we have
for sure,
and we relate on that level. And maybe it is a mental thing that we both respond to, where there is these, we both have that feeling of busting through and just going to the edge, and that there's confidence to that, but there's, it's not all roses with that kind of, there's always doubt, tons of doubt.
I sometimes like to think of it as a responsibility. I think, at the risk of coming off prideful, I believe this, that if you are someone who somehow finds himself at 20 years old and you have this like thing in you that's like, I am not gonna work there, or like, I will never work here forever, or I want to do this, or I can't sleep at night, I'm not happy with my life. Like, there are a few of those people walking around this planet, and not doing those things is almost like a disservice.
Not listening to that. Are you saying not listening?
Not listening to that. Yeah. And like there are some people who, and there's all kinds of people. Some of them are perfectly happy with driving the bus. And some of them are perfectly happy with working at the gas station. And like, we need those people. Absolutely. But we also need people who are like, I can't do the normal thing. Like, I have to do something different. And the more you crush that down, the bigger the fear gets. And then you're doing everyone a disservice. So I think it's important for like you not to get into real estate quite yet. You know what I mean? Like, don't do that. Like, this is something cool that I think if you run with it and you have the right intention, like, this is something that people need. So
thank you for saying that. I just wanted to ask you that. I didn't mean to do it on camera, but I was sitting here. We haven't gotten together. We've both been so busy for a while. Mm-hmm. But I was sitting here thinking, like you were talking. I wasn't listening to a word you were saying.
Cool, we got that, Troy, right?
No, and I was just sitting there going, man, it's so dope. Topic. It's so dope to have him on, you know, and it's been fun, and we're having a good time. And then I was like, oh my God, it's right. I was hollering at him with like, should I even do this thing? Or,
we kind of both were, because I was like, should I do VFX? Like, and you were like, shouldn't I do a podcast? I don't know. It was a very should I couple years there.
It was.
It was dicey for a minute.
Now, again, for me, I guess it stemmed from feeling like the business that I was riding on, that was the road was narrowing.
Big time.
Do you know what I mean? Like, here's me when I'm 21 years old on a music video road, you know? And ever since, 19, ever since, and now I just feel like, God, the road is getting thinner and thinner. How do you sustain? How do you know?
Yeah.
And I was going through so many, I was just living in my head so bad.
Yeah.
Just up, down, up, down, up, down. And it really did come down to me coming over to your house, and I just hang out.
Yeah.
I hang out.
Vibes are always up at the 308 house.
You know what I mean? Like, I just come over, I go upstairs, I do my rounds. I mean, and it's like
back porch, upstairs, back porch.
Back porch, upstairs. But, you know, it was camaraderie.
Yeah.
Camaraderie.
Dude, I think we underestimate the impact of COVID. Like, all of that desocialization stuff was extremely damaging to our mental, and like you and I had the same kind of experience at the same time, but it was very, you feel completely alone, and that is one of the worst feelings. Like, I have to make this decision. You have a family. Like, I have to make this decision for my family. You know what I mean? Like, that's got to be heavy. And I was just trying to figure out what to do. Like, I don't want to get a day job, and like, as if that's the worst thing in the world. But like,
no,
that's where my head was at. Was like, I will do anything before I get a day job. I'm gonna learn Blender. You know, like that. It was like, but then through that process, like people weren't. You know, there wasn't a community anymore. No sets. No one to pal around with.
You know, like getting into a past van and going to collectively going to see a scout. It's like, ping your address. I'll see you. We're done.
Which you complain about on the day, but you're happy you're there, because when it's taken away from you and during COVID, it was like, I would do a lot to get that back. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think you did incredibly well despite the circumstances, and I think that it's easy for people to be like, I don't know, I'm just feeling weird. But like, yeah, you should be. Like, this is a weird time to be alive, man.
I mean, I knew nothing else since 18, 19 years old. And I was thinking, you know, Carrie was like, you know, write down some job descriptions that you're good at. And I'm like,
are you talking about a resume?
A resume. What do you mean?
Hell no. What? No one can see what I do. It's like, why is a resume so, like, the word just...
Yeah, it's like, whoa. I don't wear a tie.
I know.
It was a really rough time. And and look at us now. I mean, you know, I know we don't need to have cameras and lights, but I don't know. It's fun.
We made it through. Yeah. And I think out of it, like...
I remember the last time you came over, we were here for a while.
Yeah.
With the kids, everybody's in bed. We come back.
Yeah.
Shit. I felt bad you had to drive home.
Oh, dude, you should feel bad I have to drive home after this.
I do. Yeah, 'cause you're going to be in some pretty gnarly traffic.
It's fine. Traffic's whatever.
So what's next? What is next?
Dude, I think I'm in definitely like a learn as many things as I can phase of my life. I think that's one of the things that I took away from all that grind work was like, okay, go with the flow, learn as many things as you can. I don't think I've been burnt by learning something yet. So I think I'm just going to keep doing it. And I've got new opportunities that, like, again, underqualified as hell, but somehow I'm in a part of my life that just seems to be like people are interested in it. I'm super thankful for that.
But wouldn't you say a portion of that is staying the course, right? Staying the course.
Meaning
don't dip.
Right.
Don't you just, like you said a few minutes ago, I spent 2 years learning something, so I'm not just going to, okay, that's over. Let's go DP. Like, whoa,
right.
Hold up. Staying your course and having the vision to where it's going. You're going right there. I mean, once you jump ship and, it's almost like, do you have a parachute or not? Like, I don't know how I'm going to land.
I've always struggled with that. Like, I
know you have.
Bouncing out. I'm like, cool, bored, next, and I just move on. I think that's kind of just the way I work. I've tried to fight it, but then you're just sitting at your desk and you're like, I have to work.
Do you think that's coming with age and maturity and maybe now finding something that you really truly love that's optionless?
Well, I truly love a lot of things, but the way that I do things is just kind of like, I'm going to work really hard on this project. And I put a lot of like my creative energy into it, not just like doing the work, but like thinking about it and like, how could I want to make it impactful. And so I feel like that's draining on a different level than just doing the work. Like putting in the hours is draining, but also having like creative stock in what you're working on can be draining too. And so I think I'm learning about myself. I think that's just going to be around, and I need to have like the relationships that I've built and the opportunities that have arisen because of those people. Like, I'll do all of those things.
Yeah.
It's fine. I'll take a couple months and I'll focus on that. And then, great. You guys are good. Couple months. I'll focus on this. I think that's just, if I can work into something like that, I think I can actually, like, longevity wise, commit, because it doesn't feel to me that I'm one to commit to a single task.
What did you, when you listened to Josh Kirschenbaum's episode, and maybe you haven't finished it?
I finished it, yeah.
What was your one takeaway? Coming from someone who
he skimmed over some like he would just mention things about like, oh, and then this person came in and wanted a whole different thing. Like small tweet, like there had to have been, especially the way they did it.
Yeah.
Back then, I say back then, but like it's changed a lot.
Oh,
like
totally.
The way that they would do something would require so many people, so many hours, so much more budget.
And he's had to evolve.
And
like,
he's
kind
had
of like
to evolve
me,
too. Yeah.
From the big productions
Right.
to where we are, and he's had to go from the big things to where he's now like, okay, I can do it all here now.
I think my biggest takeaway from him is he is someone who has an extremely high stress tolerance at this point in his life. And I would like that for myself. And I think diving into more stuff and being stressed is really the only way to like sort that out. And if you can increase your stress tolerance, you can probably do a lot more stuff.
Okay. And then what would be the piece of advice you would give someone just like you or yourself doing it over again? Because I feel like that's going to be a unique.
Don't f this up.
Yeah.
No, I think it would. I don't know if I would have given myself any, like if I was talking to me, I would probably just let myself struggle again. I think maybe just embrace the struggle part. Like it sucks sometimes and it is hard, but people like to think that creative jobs are more fun than McDonald's jobs. And in some level, they're correct. But that fun can be easily squelched by stress and anxiety.
High
and you know
pressure.
what I mean? Like it's harder to keep that in check in a creative job. It is fun, but like I think embracing that kind of like, it's going to be tough. But having a good attitude is kind of like, I wouldn't have wasted maybe so much time on being butthurt. Probably.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a good answer.
I think that's.
You proud
I'm
of
gonna
that
lock
one?
that in.
Lock it in.
We don't need another tape.
Dawson, man, Love you, buddy.
Dude, love you, man.
Thank you for finally
Thank you. This
coming in. That was fun, huh?
It was.
We'll have episode 2 sometime later, and we'll.
All right. You didn't even let me get to any of my political views.
Oh no. And that's out.